Welcome everybody to Music Portland's first Monday for October 2020, month, what is it, 8 of our music shutdown. And every day, I'm Mara McLaughlin. I'm Executive Director of Music Portland, for those of you that are new to the conversation. And every day as I fight for music on so many fronts, along with my tireless crew of volunteers, the first thing I think about is I just wish we'd started Music Portland. Chris Young and I started it 5 years ago, or we started it 2.5 years ago. I wish we'd done it 5 years ago because we'd be so much further along. But then right after that, I think, where would we all be if Music Portland hadn't started 2.5 years ago? Or if it hadn't started at all, because this pandemic has challenged us, and as well as the fires and the social justice transformations and all of these things, they've laid challenges to our music ecology in ways we couldn't have imagined. They've also laid a ton of opportunities for us to really look at ourselves and realize how we can do better. In the past few weeks, I've been specifically busy, my team and I, with concurrent grant programs. So we've tried to keep you all informed with our newsletters, but we've also been doing a lot of direct outreach to make sure that people are aware of their eligibility for this money. Because independent music still lives in this weird gap between culture and commerce. We're often excluded from art grants because we're commercial, and from business grants because we're creative. But even so, that's where Music Portland was able to try and make sure everybody was in there and understood that they were eligible. The $26 million grants from the Oregon Cultural Trust was already awarded, but I haven't heard of anybody yet in our ecosystem who received them. So if you did receive an Oregon Cultural Trust, an OCT grant, I would love to hear about it. Send it into info@Music Portland and just let us know, to know that some people in our community got some of that money. And I do hope that performers and promoters and other music people, I reached out to a lot of you, applied for the Prosper Portland Cares grant that closed last week. I understand there are thousands of applications that were made for the $25,000 grants totaling $12 million that was available in CARES money. The awards on that will be announced on October 24th. There's $2.5 million in the PDX CARES venue support grant. That closed last week as well. And the goal for that was to support the businesses, bars and restaurants and all coffee shops and wine bars that support live music, or did before COVID, because we wanted to make sure that those places were still around and supporting music when this is all over. The weird thing is that all the current CARES money that's going out through these grants has to be spent before December 30th. It's taken 6 months to get this money out there. And nationally, only about 20% of all the CARES money that the federal government designated has actually been awarded or distributed. So we haven't even started on looking at what happens January 1st. It's gonna be kind of a mess because the need is gonna be there, and none of this running room that we've just gone through has already been prepared. So we'll keep you informed. It's important we all stay connected, so as these things come up, we can tell you and make sure that you know that you're eligible to do things. Because here are some of the lessons that we've learned from these processes that hopefully will make us all do better with whatever comes next. Our community does itself no favors by not acknowledging themselves that they are both commerce and creative. Every professional musician or performer is a music entrepreneur, but self-identifying as a small business doesn't diminish the creative worth of what you do. And sometimes I think people here feel that. Denying that you are a business can also make you unsustainable. So when we talk about the local music industry, I want to make sure that every artist feels like we are talking about them, because we do mean everybody, including creators. I've heard from some people that they feel differently about themselves having to navigate the horrible process of the Oregon Employment Department and really justifying themselves as self-employed or independent contractors. Thinking about yourself as a business can really help us all go forward to amplify the amazing creative value that we have here. The other thing that we learned that I think was great was that through the venue grant outreach, we reached out and looked specifically for places that we might not have known about before as Music Portland. These are places that regularly host music, but that maybe promote themselves by word of mouth, or you know that every Thursday the best marimba in the city is played here. And that's definitely was the case for a lot of places that hosted Latin music and some hip hop outlets. So building more of the people that we can connect to so we can get the information that we need out there. We continued to work in the last couple of weeks and this last month with the OED, working with Senator Merkley's office to advocate for individuals who are still waiting 7 months later to receive any of the promised government aid that they were promised as individuals. So that's PUA and unemployment insurance. We just did some rough calculations, and to date, with the help of Senator Merkley's office and keeping close contact with people, we've helped music people receive more than $400,000 in owed benefits. And that just feels incredibly great. These were people that were really at the end of their ropes. Austin can post a link in the chat, but for those of you on Facebook, if you are in that situation and want us to help you, the URL is bit.ly/capital OED, small case, still waiting. So please let us know if you have yet to receive benefits, if you need them. We are fighting for everybody and it's working. So that has been incredibly satisfying work to be able to help individuals. And last week we hosted a candidate forum for the runoff elections for mayor and city commissioner position 2. We'll be posting that, I think, Austin, on Wednesday on our YouTube channel, and we'll put it out on social so you know you can get in and see it. In addition to the momentous justice issues facing our city, it's also important to remember that these are going to be the elected people that decide or prioritize how culture figures into our recovery plan. If all of the money goes to purely household support, if culture is not considered as part of the healing and return, there won't be enough of it left. So we want to make sure that we're in there and that culture gives as good as it gets. You know, we can bring the community back together with music, with art, with dance, with all these different things. It's important, and we need to be at the table, and that's what this this conversation really focuses on. So if we didn't do what we do every day, I am confident that venues would have been less supported. More of them would have closed. Non-standard work profiles of music people would be the curling stacks of paper at the OED and not attended to. We wouldn't have had gatherings and performances that help us all feel more connected. And there are going to be a lot more challenges coming up. So we keep working hard, and we keep fighting for our entire music ecology, for every person in it. And what I want to again focus on is that a lot of what we do, we've just been putting it out in the ether. We don't require anything of anybody. But there are 2 reasons why getting involved by creating a short Music Portland profile helps in 2 ways, helps you and us. It tells us that people see what we do and that want to be a part of it, and they want it to be more, and that they appreciate the information we collect. We want to make that we collect so that we can reach them, that they don't want to count on algorithms of social media to make sure they hear what we have to say, and that they appreciate the programming that we create and the battles that we fight for them. The other thing it does is that it tells us, helps us tell those that we represent music to that our community is galvanized, that it's engaged, that it's watching, that's committed to its own success. And the numbers of involved members is perhaps the most potent force that we can bring to any conversation with a funding partner or elected leader. So it helps all of us. It helps us help you. It helps you help us to fight for you. So if you appreciate what we do, please make sure you've done one yourself, musicportland.org/profile, but also encourage all of your music peers to join us, become part of this movement. Music Portland is all of you. It's all of us. And we'll make it to this time of silence independent together. And I'm hopeful. I'm still hopeful. And now I'm really excited for this next conversation. I'm going to introduce DJ Ambush to welcome our panel on building equity in community media.
Hey, thank you everyone for joining us on this Monday evening. Just to reiterate something Mira just touched on, it's extremely important that we are represented, in these conversations. Please go to the website, register, tell a friend to tell a friend. DJs, vocalists, producers, writers, please go to the website, fill out the application, get yourself registered with the organization. So first, I want to welcome and thank the panelists participating tonight. We have Chris Young, editor-in-chief from Vortex magazine, a journalist, editor, and advocate for his local music community. Chris Young is a founder of Vortex Music Magazine and MusicPortland, a native Portlander who's always finding ways to surround himself with beautiful noise and creativity. He currently serves as the editor-in-chief of Vortex, but will be passing the torch on at the end of 2020. Also joining us is Max Smiff, editor-in-chief of We Out Here magazine. It's We Out Here magazine. I'm from Philly. I'm fighting the urge to say We Out Here, so Mac, forgive me. Max Smiff is a longtime journalist focused on Northwest music and hip hop culture for outlets such as the Oregonian, Portland Mercury, Vortex Music Magazine, and his own vehicle, We Out Here magazine. A professional problem solver, his hobbies include gardening, activism, and raising children who understand basketball analogies. He is a guest editor for the fall 2020 issue of Vortex. And Jenni Moore, freelance writer. Jenni Moore is a freelance writer, copy editor, and photographer residing in the Pacific Northwest. Many Portlanders know her from years working as an editor and writer at alternative biweekly newspaper, excuse me, the Portland Mercury. She's also written about local music, food, wellness, and culture for Portland Monthly, We Out Here magazine, Travel Oregon, Travel Portland, Mercatus, PDX Collective, and more. In her free time, Jenni enjoys travel, live music, cooking, yoga, gardening, and spending time in nature with her dog. Hello. Hello, everyone. Please unmute. I need all of this energy. There we go.
What's going on, bro?
Hey.
What's up?
So good to see you guys. So good to see you guys. Shame we couldn't all actually be in the same space, but soon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, I want to start out with how's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? So how is everyone doing?
I'm going to say that Jenni's the only one that shouted out her dog in her bio. So if you see me run away, it's to stuff my puppy with some treats because I'm one of those people that got a pandemic puppy.
Aw. Yeah. Dog refrigeration.
I'm doing good. I'm super busy. I owe Chris a couple of emails, and I think I owe Jenni at least one. So
Okay. Right.
We're doing good.
This isn't a tense situation at all that you.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'm like, Chris, don't call me out.
I'll see you tomorrow.
You will.
Yeah.
So let me jump into this first one. What does Portland's current independent and community media look like in the COVID-19 landscape?
It's, I mean, I guess I would say that it wasn't easy before COVID and it hasn't gotten any easier. And I'm sure that Jenni can speak a lot to her experiences at the Mercury. And I mean, just like a basic summary for us at Vortex being a specific music magazine, we all know how detrimentally affected the music biz has been. And we received a lot of funding from local venues and music festivals and stuff like that. And you know, that's just been wiped out. So it has been tough, you know, just to see the things that, you know, local businesses and artists and musicians have been facing, and, you know, how that trickles down as well.
What are some of the challenges you two as writers have been facing, right now with the industry the way that it is? I mean, of course, there's no shows to cover, but if people are still doing projects, I'm assuming, like the
Yeah.
why.
I think it's kind of probably very different for me because I was music editor before the pandemic hit. Oops. Can you also hear me? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I felt like I was just kind of hitting my stride with that. Like, it was less than a year that I'd been in that position. So I was just starting to be like, okay, I got this. I'm getting comfortable now. And then, print media has already been struggling for years. So the Mercury, and I'm sure this is very similar situation at Willamette Week and all the other places that do print, it's just, there's not very much money that comes in from that. Like, pretty much entirely, the Mercury pretty much entirely relied on ad sales, ad revenue to pay, the rent and pay for everybody's benefits and everything. So other than that, and also like other events like Home Film Fest and little show fundraisers, there already was a lack of money, and layoffs were happening all the time just across the country. So it was, job security already was in like a shaky place for people who work full-time in that industry. And now it's like, I don't really know how it's different now, to be honest, because I've kind of taken a little bit of a step back from music specific coverage, only because I was getting a little burnt out on it. And again, it has to do with just lack of money, lack of support, and these staffs at these publications are also small. So like, everyone that's on staff is doing like a bazillion different things other than what their actual job is. So it just, it leaves you feeling like you're spread really thin, and like, you're just like, where's my interns? I was an intern for years. Where's my intern? Like, I need help. So just like, now it's like, I feel like there is more opportunities, but it's all, maybe you've experienced this too, Mac, but I feel like there's a lot of people reaching out now wanting me to work for them that I'm like, I've been trying to work for y'all for years. But now that everyone's like, oh my gosh, we need representation, we need Black writers, and then it's like they're all in my inbox. So that's kind of different for me personally, because I thought I was going to go from being really, really busy to being completely having my time free, but now I'm like trying to choose which projects to take and where I want to do, you know what I mean? But also I'm just like, I don't know, I was taking a moment away from music to be able to like, oh, I can cover other things now. But now I'm kind of getting back into the music mode of things because I miss it. So yeah, for me personally, that's kind of how it's changed. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, definitely. Matt?
Yeah, for me, similar and different at the same time. I've been getting a lot of opportunities to write and do coverage about politics and other stuff as opposed to music all of a sudden, which I had been trying to break into for years and I was never able to, and now all of a sudden it's everywhere. And so at the same time now people are like, hey, can you review my album? And I'm like, I'm listening to your album right now. I'm putting on a helmet, bro. I don't have time right now for this. So it's just a little bit different, as far as with everything else going on. But it's weird not being able to throw any shows. Yeah. Because really, even though I'm the editor-in-chief of We Out Here, really my primary function is throwing the thesis, And there hasn't been a thesis since, what was that, March? Yeah. So, I mean, we're now like, after going 5 straight years, and then a couple, and then a few more months after that, now all of a sudden it's been 7 months, no thesis, which is wild. So I feel like a lot of the connections I usually make are not there. I feel like, I'm not hearing the music I usually hear. I actually hear a lot of music live. That's how I actually find music. Like I hear them like, well, who is that? And they tell me it's this person, and I go listen to it. That's like my primary form of find. Like if you like, you can send me all the links in the world, but like when I hear it and people are feeling it, I'm like, that's the song, you know, that's the rapper, that's the person I want to, you know, that I want to follow up on. That's why I'm so into live music. That's where you really kind of see it. Or even like DJ music, if it plays in the club and it goes, I know it works. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. Do people like the song, you know?
Right.
So that experience is mostly gone. We get a little, you know, bit of it at the protest, you know, when it gets, you know, jovial and whatnot, but I'm not seeing that same experience. So like I hear some stuff, like I've heard a lot of Swiggle and a lot of Boca at the protests. So because I get to hear those things and I see people reacting to it, you know, then I know it's working. Some of the Amine, some of the Win, and then some of the stuff just plays, and so you find it. But yeah, it's been a lot different. And as far as writing about music, it's just taken such a different, because there's no events to write about. Like when you write about music, it's usually about events. Like you went to an event, blah, 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 you had this experience. There's just no experiences. Like if you read like, you know, Rolling Stone, it's all about experiences, being at a festival, being at this, meeting someone at a show, you know, having this crazy wild party and meeting Dave Chappelle. None of that's happening. Like we're all in our house. So it makes it really different. You really have to just like, you know, write about music, which I'm sure all the musicians would love, but like, you know, writers don't want to just like listen to songs and write and wax poetic about them. It's
no.
Yeah, and I'd venture to say a certain type of reader doesn't want to read that either. You know, it's not all super cerebral and about how the song was created. Clearly that type of writing maybe speaks to someone that has a musical background or maybe a more intellectual knowledge of music. But like with Vortex, we've always very much taken the approach that we want to open the door to more people rather than like block people out. You know,
right.
We're not like Guitar Player Magazine where we're just speaking to guitar players that are, you know, want to know like what chord it is and what guitar he played or whatever it is. You know, it's like it's all about getting this music to more people and having more people participate in the local music community.
Right. Jenni, you mentioned something about feeling like you were going to have a reprieve, like some type of a break, and then actually what ended up happening is you ended up being offered more opportunities to work with, you know, different organizations that you know, may have wanted to work with before then. Wanting to take that break though, we're creatives. You have to replenish, you know, being able to go to shows, being able to go to, you know, listen to music. There's things that you do to replenish your creativity in order for you to output. But what we're facing right now, you know, the pandemic on top of the social justice issues that are, you know, pretty much rocking our city are huge things that you got to put life on pause just to even deal with and you know, take that on it. How do you balance that with not only your desire to keep creating and writing, but what feels like possibly an obligation to do so during these times?
Yeah, that's actually what I've been trying to figure out. And it's just, I always feel like I'm doing too much or I'm not doing enough. It's a very uncomfortable place for me to be in. But also I do feel like I have gotten a break because my job was so time consuming before that I do feel like now at least, like let me see, what you were saying about replenishing is really important. And I don't feel like I've gotten to replenish in those ways, at least not with writing. Like the only thing I can really do is go outside, you know, and get some fresh air and kind of let nature be that replenishment for me. But yeah, I really would like to feel that balance. I don't know where the balance is, to be honest with you. Like I really don't.
I can really relate to what you're saying, Jenni, and I feel like, yeah, having that feeling of, am I doing enough, you know, or like, did I not get back to this thing? And so the weirdest thing has happened, I think, with the whole pandemic and just everything else that's happening, because you're totally right, Ambush. It's like and now with elections about to happen, it's just
Right.
like you really need to like take a breather and take some time for yourself, but also feel like you're like doing work on yourself as well, in terms of like understanding what's happening in the world, and reading things, and you know, just keeping up with the times. But I mean, I think that the weirdest thing happened in the music world, because when everything shut down, I felt a little bit of a sense of like relief, because there was no pressure, because there was nothing happening, and no one had any expectations of you, because there weren't any shows, and like
Yeah.
everything was a total shit show, you know. And so it was like but that, you know, it's now we're how many months into it, there's this like weird creeping up feeling happening, where you're like, well, this can't go on forever, and like this isn't healthy, that like these things aren't happening. And like the fact that, you know, those shows that we were going to, you know, like was a release, and like was our community, and was like a breath of fresh air. You know, it's good to go out in nature and like get the disconnected fresh air, but it's also good to like, maybe like the spiritual fresh air, like at a show that like really inspired you. And so it's it's just weird. It makes for a lot of up and downs, I guess, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
And for me, it's different because I protest, so I see people all the time.
Right.
We're out there all the time, and there's lots of energy, and a lot of the same energy, in fact, that we get at shows and whatnot. So I do get that. I don't get the same experience, like, you know, putting together musical things and whatnot. But I get a lot of this stuff that I wasn't seeing in the early part of the pandemic. So.
Do you feel an additional weight to discuss what's going on currently, Mac? I mean, over the music, over anything else?
Oh, I mean, I talk about it all the time, so it's nice to have a break talking about it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an overarching feeling. It's definitely you know, it's kind of one of those things that brings everything together, although it tears everything apart as well. So it's weird.
Okay. All right. I'm going to kind of back off from some of that heavy stuff for a little while. How can we amplify community and minority-run media? Is the next question. I have some thoughts on this. I feel like people need to be very intentional about engaging with community-run media. It's one thing to say I support. It's another thing to really take interest in different writers and photographers and find out why this is what they're doing. Explore those angles, and then actually the support. This is the money side, guys. Actually support in any way you possibly can. I, as a DJ, you know, I have record pools that I belong to, but the ability to follow someone on Bandcamp and just like buy the monthly subscription to whatever it is they're doing feels amazing. It feels amazing. And I may forget about that artist until I see something in my email that I just paid $6. Or who's this? Oh, let me go check out what they're doing. What are some ways that you guys can think of that we can use, that we can amplify community and minority-run media?
I mean, I think what you're speaking to with that Bandcamp idea is a great model. I mean, you're talking about a subscription, you know, and that's a direct subscription to a single artist or a single creator. And I think that has been lacking a lot in the media world, you know, nationally, globally, is that, you know, with the internet, people just like don't spend money on media anymore. They just assume that it's free, or that they get the same thing somewhere else, you know. And so we see the demise of lots of small town newspapers. We see a lack of arts and culture coverage at, you know, our major newspapers, specifically here in Oregon. And, you know, I mean, I think that it's kind of, you know, and then we have the whole like Spotify argument, you know, it's like, there's a subscription model, but it's not equitable for the artists, you know? Right. So so there's a lot of there's so much data in the world these days. I feel like someone who's smarter than me could dig into this stuff and kind of try to re-envision what some of these models are, and look at like how we can, create community supported, funded media that really, serves the community. And the last thing I'll say on that is, I do think that X-Ray has done a great job with that. They've done a really solid job with building up that kind of fan base. But it's still not easy. You still see, the subscription drives, and it's a lot of work to do that stuff and to do the fundraising.
Yeah, it's funny because about maybe like a month before all the layoffs happened at the Merc, we were sitting around brainstorming what are some ways that we can bring in more revenue, because we need it. We need money so bad. And so we did have like some brainstorming sessions, and we were, trying to do all these, trying to do a fundraiser events and trying to do like a hip hop showcase thing that unfortunately never got to get off the ground because then COVID hit a couple weeks later. But so many of those like money making things, I think, are looped in with events, which makes it really hard, because that's what people, like Max said, like people want to pay for experiences. Like, yes, I think we all know that right now we could all be supporting artists more by buying their actual music and buying their merch and all this, but that doesn't, I mean, that puts it on the individual in a way too. It's kind of like tipping in a way, like we're really going to count on everyone to individually solve this systemic issue. But with media in particular, I feel like it might have to be changing, just doing more, like maybe expanding to podcasts and stuff, because it seems like that's another ad revenue that could be opened up. Like a lot of these print places aren't selling subscriptions, they're not selling memberships, but I know they're taking donations now, which is a thing. Like that's kind of new, I think, for at least Willamette Week and the Mercury to be accepting donations like just in the last year. So yeah, I think people do need to start paying for their media more, but I don't know, because I don't have money to pay every paywall, like every Washington Post, once you get past 4 articles or whatever, you're host. So it gets,
Then you got to wipe all your cookies and start all over again, right?
right.
Yeah. Use the incognito browser and then hop back in there.
Yeah, but
I think there's something to be said about that model, though. Like, you find value in it, so you pay for it. Like Netflix, HBO Max,
right.
gotta watch the Snyder Cut, so they're gonna get my money. Like, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
I think there is a unique opportunity here, though, because Chris, you said something about the comparison between local media and then also national coverage. If I know that what I'm paying for is a unique view on my specific scene, I think I would definitely feel a lot more comfortable and more enticed to pay for that. Something hyper specific. What are your thoughts on that coming from print media?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're speaking to supporting community, and I think we talked like a couple of weeks ago about, how people can view local media or DJs or something as gatekeepers, and true, yeah, we could be a gatekeeper, but realistically, we're a gatekeeper in the sense of we're a gatekeeper in that we have a limited amount of time and can only do so much time. How much space do you have in a radio show? You got an hour. How many
Right.
you have in a magazine? How much time do you have to write about something? And so I think like what you're truly speaking to is like, how much time do you have to engage with your community?
Right.
Pay other writers and photographers and DJs and stuff to also engage with the community, and so I think it's really important that people, artists and listeners and readers and all that kind of stuff recognize that, like, you know, if they truly, like, if they truly are tuning in every day, you know, or picking up every magazine, that they should kind of think, like, reassess, you know, that not everything is free, and it's just not free to make this, just like the music that the artists make isn't free either, even though we can get it off of YouTube and they get nothing for that, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it's just yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to, I think, education and just like the, you know, the shifting of dinosaur industries, like the record industry that was so slow to embrace digital, and then, like, you know, got real cozy with a couple big companies. You know, it's just the classic story that we've seen play out over and over again. But you know, on the positive note, individuals have never been more empowered than ever before in terms of what they can do with the tools on their own. So, I mean, I think that there's a lot of really smart people out there that are looking at these things and that are making a change for themselves, and, you know, doing like direct to fan things like that. I mean, like, Run the Jewels is a great example of a band that, you know, has been giving their music away, and they're bigger than they've ever been. And yeah, and just doing like incredible work, you know.
Yeah, I definitely feel like innovation is king right now. Before, there were so many different walls and different types of structures that you not necessarily had to follow, but acted as guides as to where your career can go and how you're going to navigate your career. With us being in a space now where no one knows what to do, there's no idea that you can throw at the wall and someone can say, "Oh, that's terrible." What do you mean it's terrible? What idea do you have? You know what I'm saying? Like, the playing field's wide open.
I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for artists. I mean, I feel like, you know, with COVID, with this pandemic, it's kind of been like a cleansing of everything, you know, like everything that's extra has been wiped away. So I feel like really who it hurts the most in this are the artists that can't stand alone, the ones that can't hop on a show and get a check, you know, this week or whatever. But the artists who have a following already, I feel like they're suffering quite as much. They probably have changed, you know, and held things off because they can't execute the plans that they had for, you know, doing a tour, doing shows. And so they're you know, they're kind of retooling. But like I see them doing, you know, band camp only releases that are paid only, and only people that, you know, pay for it can get it. I've seen folks doing music live on their OnlyFans. You know, I mean, it's all kinds of stuff that people are doing to get those subscription and get that information. I've really seen artists working on their social media platforms and really working on, you know, getting followers, and, you know, and really working on the grassroots work, as opposed to just going out and doing shows, cutting a record, doing artwork, cutting out and doing shows, cut a record, do some artwork. So if that normal grind is interrupted, they have to change those plans. So I've seen a lot of creativity. I think the folks that eat off of music are continuing to eat off of music, and if not, they're adding in fashion and sales, you know, retail work or whatever, to kind of make those ends meet. You know, like if you look at like a Swiggle Mandela, he's been an excellent example of someone who has really just turned up the volume on the merch game. He's making bags, he's making girls' clothes, he's making all kinds of stuff. He's still dropping that same song. He's just pushing the song that's working, Dear Portland Police, and just going with it. It's picked up a national audience and it's a 2-year-old song has picked up a new energy. And so he's just working that and creating merch and creating a movement around that song that's popular. So if you have good music out there, it's going to come and get you.
So it's a question from the audience. Are there any specific ideas for places and ways to pay for my media in the Portland music media scene?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You can. I mean, so I guess like the question is to pay for the media, to support the media. Yeah, I mean, it's like you can donate to X-Ray or, KBOO or Portland Radio Project. They're all out there on the airwaves every day. They're all independently community run. I mean, even KMHD and OPV, that all that stuff is, funded by listeners like you kind of stuff. And, and you can look at, I mean, Jenni mentioned that the Willamette Week the top of every article, you know, on the Willamette Week, and I'm pretty sure the Mercury too, they have a donate button. I mean, you even see like the Guardian, like a historic paper in the UK, you know, has a donate thing on the bottom of every article. I mean, I think that every media organization that is out there in some way or another is either taking donations or accepting subscriptions for what they do. And I don't think you really have to look too hard. I think it's more of just you making a decision who you can support and how much you can do. Just like if you want to subscribe to an individual artist Bandcamp or something, it's just, you know, you picking where you want to, what you value.
Yeah. And most of these artists nowadays, especially with, you know, this summer and everything, everybody has their Cash Apps and their Venmos in their bio. You know, you can always just, you know, I like this song, hit them with a couple of dollars. Those add up. So, I mean, if you have 1,000 fans, they'll just give you $1, you know, this week because they like your music. That's $1,000 in your account. So, you know, don't be shy to throw $1 at somebody. It might seem small, but it might be making their day as well. So,
Yeah,
those are easy things we can do.
don't be shy to throw $1 at somebody. Please, music community, understand how this works. Okay, understand how this works. You can't. Let's talk old world for a second. You can't expect to get into the show for free because your homie is performing. That does not benefit your homie. That doesn't benefit the promoter. That doesn't benefit the venue. That benefits no one but yourself. So that's not you putting into the community. As an artist, as a producer, as a graphic designer, you want to get paid for what you do, right? In order to do that, let's make sure we're injecting into the community. Producers, charge the artists. Artists, pay your producers. Pay your DJs. I know a lot of this sounds like really crazy. Why we got to pay for all this stuff? We should just make it all together. You know, what's the phrase? I'm about to change it with this one. This is the next big hit. If you work with me now, when we make it, you know,
it's a good look for the both of us.
It's a good look for the both. Thank you, Mike. It's a good look for the both of us. The whole team's going to win off of this one. We just need everybody to get involved. No. We got to change all of that. We seriously do. So speaking specifically about local writers, reporters, photographers, operating as freelance workers, how can we empower these people to continue providing us with high quality, on the ground reporting that we've come to expect? We did talk about, you know, having Patreon, you know, OnlyFans, whatever different ways that you can receive individual support from individual members of the community. Have you guys put any thought to creating, you know, paywalls specifically for your content outside of working with any organization?
No. I've not thought of that at all. You mean like writing for like a personal blog or something?
Yeah, I think writing for a personal blog, sure, that'd be a good comparison. But I feel like being in Portland, being at the center of so many different things right now, there's a very unique perspective we can share with the world as media.
For sure.
I had actually thought about turning WOM into a pay only thing and getting all the writers of color to come write.
Oh shit.
And make people wonder, what are they doing over there? But you got to pay to see it.
You gotta pay to get in. You gotta pay to get in.
That's not a terrible idea.
I've had worse.
But as far as empowering writers of color, I think sharing their work is very important. Commenting on the posts or the article itself, just engaging with those people's work and not just like reading it and then shutting it and being like, that was cool, but like actually spreading that. Because I know for me personally, it could be a little hard to feel like I'm only writing to a white audience all the time, if you know what I mean. Like I'm the only person of color on staff and I'm writing about all this, you know, hip hop, Blackish, just all this non-white stuff. And then if I don't hear back from my community, it gets to like a weird place where I feel like I'm just telling white people what we're doing. You know what I mean?
The worst feeling. The worst feeling. Oh my God.
Like, I don't want that to be the feeling. Not that I have a problem writing to white people. It's just, it's just weird to feel like that, especially when I'm not necessarily talking to them. not talking to them, but.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, I want to feel like my community is reading the stuff that I'm writing about them, because I want it, if there's something wrong in there, like I want them to be reading it and to check me on it, as opposed to it just flying over everybody's head and no one even, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, I feel like engaging with writers' work is really, really encouraging. Like, because I wrote Sneaker Wave, my hip hop column, for like over 3 years, but like whenever I would meet someone who, like a black man at an event, and he'd be like, "You write Sneaker Wave? I read that all the time," and that would like just be so, it would just mean so much to me, because I was like, oh my God, good. People read newspapers, and not only do people read newspapers, but Black people read my work and they like it. So that's all that matters to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I look like you're about to say something, Mac. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh no, I didn't say that. No.
Okay.
Jenny.
Yeah, I agree with you. Feedback is extremely valuable, and it's hard to come by.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. You can't really gauge it. So like, we started doing our weekly news show about 19 weeks ago. And then a partner reached out to us, a prospective partner reached out to us and said they wanted to advertise specifically on the news show. And that happened last week. So it's like, oh, people are listening and they like it. That's pretty cool.
Something that me and Donovan Smith and Intisar Abiyoto recently were talking about was how difficult it is as a Black journalist. I think I talked to Chris about it a bit too, how difficult it is as a Black journalist to try and speak to Black people through journalism. Like how many layers of difficulty that there are in trying to reach Black people through journalism. Like, it's like, unless you write for an explicitly Black organization, there are so many layers of whiteness. Like, I've written so many articles. Like, actually, just recently, like in the last month, I wrote an article that I just said, no, I'm taking it back. I gave it to an editor, and they like changed everything. Like, they were like, well, this just didn't make sense to me. And I'm like, well, I get that, but that's the point. You need to let me get through it, so that you can't just change everything, because it doesn't work in your perspective. And there's just so many layers. And then even if you have it edited and gets out there, it still has to get approved through all these different layers. And then someone's like, that's something there that we don't like. And, it's because all this stuff about that. And then even if you are writing for a Black organization, oftentimes the audience is just white people who are looking for, like, it's like with the Dave Chappelle, he used to just talk to us. And now it's like, it's just white people listening. Like, so it's different, So even if you do get like a successful thing that's Black, you still end up kind of pandering to the masses, because that's how media and corporate media works. So it's really difficult. But I think that by putting Black people in positions of power, that's really how we get there. By having Black editors, by having Black people that own press orgs. And perhaps this is kind of a bias of mine, because I happen to have my own press situation, but for real, like, we have to kind of work together a bit more to kind of understand our value and what that means. Because I think that we oftentimes get siphoned off, as Jenny was saying earlier. They just pull us off and go, hey, I need your representation on my staff, and so they kind of.
And then you become the token.
And then you become the Black person that was chosen by someone white, and then you meet the other people who were chosen by white people, and then you guys just become like the elite, the Black people who are elite to white people, and the Black folks don't listen to you anyway, so you still lose out. So it's really hard to be authentic. And I wanted to shout out Chris too, because he's been transitioning his Vortex magazine. And he offered me an opportunity to be the editor for this next one. And so I made the decision that I wanted to go all Black in the publication. And he accepted that and allowed that and stepped back and allowed me to do that. So we're working on that now. That's what I'm kind of late on. I'm doing stuff because I'm doing it on PC time. So, you know, CP time, excuse me. So, you know, that's what it is. But yeah, so it's really been awesome. And Jenni's, you know, gotten involved, and a lot of other Black writers from Portland have gotten involved as well. And we're trying to, you know, do something of that sort because it is hard to, you know, get our point across.
Chris, can you speak quickly? I don't mean to say quickly. Can you speak to your motivation for reaching out to Mac for that, for the issue?
Because I love him. Because he's a good person and he's a thought leader, and I just would love to see the world. I mean, I already see the world through his eyes just by following him on Twitter. But I would love to see the world and the music scene through his eyes, you know, in this music magazine. I mean, I've been doing it for 6 years now. And I just, you know, it's been my baby, and I've had a tight grip on it at times because it's, like I said, it's been my baby, but I really want to see what some of these things can look like through other people's eyes. And so, yeah, so Mac signed on to do one issue with me, which I'm really stoked about, and the future is a bit uncertain after that, but I would really love to see just other people from different backgrounds that would maybe want to step up and take the platform and, you know, guest edit an issue, or, you know, there's opportunities there. I'm really like looking for people that want to talk about it and have ideas. And I've talked a little bit with MusicPortland, you know, about things that we could do with it. I've talked a little bit with Andre over at Friends of Noise to see if there's, you know, some way that it could work in with, you know, kind of the educational platforms that he's providing. But yeah, I mean, at this point, Mac and I are going to put this magazine out, and it's going to be amazing. And then I'm just like looking forward to seeing what other people's ideas are and what they might want to do with the platform.
That is dope. That is dope. I'm looking forward to this. Mac, Chris, Jenni, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. I wish we had more time. I'm looking forward to the next time we can all either get together virtually or at least in the same space. Thank you.